Hello and welcome. Welcome to a new video, vlog, tag video, vlog tag video combo. I did this with the last tag video I did and I felt like it worked really well because it breaks up the tag. It's not just me talking to you, but it gives me something to talk about while I'm just sitting here working. I actually got the idea to film it this way. I don't think I mentioned this in the last tag, but I saw Ashley from A Ginger Writes do a tag video in this format, and I think it's how I'm going to do tag videos from now on. So thank you, Ash. I'll try to remember to link her channel down below if you haven't checked her out. She's another author tuber, writer tuber that I would recommend. The tag video I'm going to be talking about and talking through today is the story idea writing tag, and I saw Emma Bennet do this on her channel. I will link it below. And she got it from Abriana from Black Girl Writing, so I will link her channel below as well as put the questions down there. I will unofficially tag everyone. If you do videos and you're an author or writer and you haven't done this tag, I'm tagging you and would love for you to do it. What I'm going to be working on today in between answering the tag questions is I am still going through the manuscript for Independent Hearts 2 and starting with chapter 8. I'm up to chapter 8. If you watch the last vlog, you'll see that I got started on this. So I'm going through the corrections I made on the PDF copy in my iPad. So I've got that next to me. And then I'm making the corrections in the vellum file on my computer. So it is just before 4 o'clock on Friday, and I have managed to finish work for the day a little bit early. I have been grading. I had physical therapy this morning, and I also did some yoga this morning. So we're 2 for 2 now, 2 days in a row of doing yoga. That is helping a lot. So I did pop out for an errand, but since getting home, I have been grading application letters for my business writing students all day long. So I'm tapped out on how much teaching work I can do, but I think I can still manage doing some proofreading. I started yesterday at almost 5 and I got a third of the way through the book in 1 hour. So I'm hoping if I work from 4 to 6-ish, I can get the rest of the corrections made. And then once this is done and the book interior is done, then I can do the paperback cover, finish up the book description and finish up the paperback cover. So we are down to the last bits on this one, and I really want to be able to film the upload day vlog. I just don't know when upload day is going to be. Anyway, I want to get into these questions. So I'll answer a couple and then I'm going to get to work, and then we'll answer some more during my breaks. Question number 1 of the story idea writing tag. Current story. What is your current story idea that you are working on right now? I'm working on a few things, but since this video will go up, it's technically September 30th, but when this video goes up, it will be October. And I have decided October is the month of Independent Hearts Book 2. So Independent Hearts 2 is the story of Lydia, and I haven't announced this, but I'm going to just let it out here. Lydia and Oliver. So Oliver is the main male character. You did not meet Oliver in book 1. Oliver is a brand new character for the series. I'm trying to think of what I can say about Oliver. See, we're not going to say anything else about Oliver because I don't know exactly how the book description is going to go out, and I don't want to reveal anything that's not going to be in the book description. So Oliver is the main male character. I'll tell you that much. Lydia is the main female character, and Lydia works at the Silver Stag Inn and Pub. It's set during autumn. It's set in a small town, so it's a small town romance. It's got all the cozy vibes that you could possibly want in a book, which is why I am trying to get it released this month. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say about that, but that is what I am working on in this vlog and at this moment, and I will tell you more about the other works in progress later in future vlogs. Question number 2, spark of inspiration. Do your ideas begin with characters, plot, world building, or something else entirely? That really depends. Some books have started with characters, some have started with plot, some have started with a world that I just wanted to write in. So I think, looking up at my little stack of books across the pond, and so the first book, A Brave Start, started with, I just wanted to write a romance novel set in London. I wanted to write a story about an American girl from Arizona, wonder where I got that idea, who gets a chance to move to London to study writing, and all of her adventures. It was wanting to write something in London, but it was also partially based on the fantasy of just, what if I just happened to be in London and bumped into my favorite celebrity and he fell madly in love with me? So there's a little bit of that in the series as well. So that's kind of how that one started. But then the sequel to that, Brave With You, and the third book, Brave Together, those ones definitely started with plot because they already had the characters set. So it was like, well, what could happen next? More Than Fate, that just started because Tamsin and I wanted to write a book together. Tamsin had the idea for that one, and then she was like, I've had this idea for a book, I want you to write it with me. And then book one of Independent Hearts, Bookshop of Possibilities, which I've got the proof copy right here because I've been looking at it. Bookshop started, again, I just had the idea of, it was more the setting, and I guess the world building of that. I wanted to write a book in a small town based around independent, like indie small businesses in this small town. Each business would be run by a different single woman. And so the challenges of running a business, but also trying to find love and romance in their life. So book one was a bookshop. Book two is the inn and pub. I know what book 3, 4, and 5 are, but I'm not saying yet. If you've read them, you can kind of guess the different characters and their businesses, but I'm not committing to which order just yet. The royal romance idea, that one has come, again, I just wanted to write a royal romance. I love royal romance, so that's where that idea came from. The unpublished, little talked about fantasy novel that I've written, that one started, that was character driven. That was just, this scene between the two main characters just popped in my head one day, and I kept replaying that scene over and over and over again, and I hated it, and I didn't like the characters, I didn't care. And then one day the dialogue just kind of changed, and suddenly I was interested. So that one definitely started with the characters. So yeah, my ideas come from all over the place. There's no rhyme or reason. But before I get completely sucked into this tag video, I am going to get to work. I've got a decaf cup of false spice latte, and I bought some pumpkin muffins this week, so I've got a third of one of the muffins. They're huge, so I just sliced off a tiny bit for myself. Little afternoon snack. And yeah, I'm gonna get everything set up. I've activated cozy office mode. It is cooling down. It only got up to 97 today. Shocker, but it's still quite hot out and very bright. So I've closed all the blinds. We're activating cozy office mode so that I can get this work done. And yeah, I'll check with you guys maybe in about 45 minutes and we'll see how far I can get. Okay, it's been about 40 minutes, 40, 50-ish minutes. I've done 4 chapters, so I'm up to chapter 12. So cranking through this. I just needed a break, so thought we would return to the tag. Number 3, brainstorm. How do you puzzle piece your story elements together? Do you start with the ending and make your way to the beginning, or vice versa? Both. It's not one or the other. I start with whatever scenes are popping out the most obviously. And if you watched my video on how I outline, particularly how I outline in Scrivener, I kind of go over this a little bit. Yeah, I'll start with a random collection of scenes, kind of out of order, and we'll just kind of plot out on 2 pages of a notebook the key moments that are coming up. And I'll plot in placeholders, so even if I don't have an idea for what the midpoint, kind of turning point event of the book will be, I know that at the middle of the book there needs to be something that just kind of turns the plot around a little bit. Something has to change or shift at the midpoint. So even if I don't know what that scene is, I will still mark that down. And then I'll kind of work together, if this scene needs to happen here, what needs to happen leading up to that scene, and if that scene happens at that place, what would happen after that scene. So I usually start with a few key moments. For me, because I write romance, I usually know that towards the beginning there's going to be some sort of meet cute, and at the end there's going to be some sort of happily ever after, but before that there's going to be something that kind of threatens to tear the characters apart. There's moments like that that just kind of are inherent to the genre, so I kind of start with those and then fill out and fill in everything that happens between them. Number 4, keep or toss. How do you know when you want to keep or dump a story idea? So this is something that I'm sure is not unique to me, but I don't hear a lot of other writers talking about it. I have a lot of ideas in my head, and I don't commit anything to paper until I feel like I really want to write that story. So basically, when I have a creative idea, I don't write it down right away, because that's my test. If it's a good idea, it will stay in my head. It will live rent-free in my mind, in my imagination, and it will not leave me alone. If it's not a good idea, or if it's just not a good idea or a good fit for me, it will leave my head. But yeah, there are definitely some ideas rattling around up there that I hope I will be able to write one day, because they aren't leaving, they're sticking around, so I think they're good ideas. But yeah, that's kind of how I tell if it's a good idea to keep or dump the idea, is based on, does it just continue to live in my head, or do I forget it? If I forget it, it wasn't a good enough idea. If I don't forget it, some of the ideas in my head I've had for over a year now, and my brain just cycles back to them every now and then and fills in another detail or something. So yeah, that's how I tell. If I can remember it, it's worth keeping. If I don't remember it, my brain just automatically dumps it for me. Number 4, original idea. How much of your original idea for your story is actually used once everything is finished? I'd say once I start writing, it's pretty much there. Like, once I have it fully outlined, that is the story I'm going to write. And it's not that my story idea doesn't change a bit from the outline through the final draft and then through the editing, but the main original idea of it stays. I don't like completely rewrite the second half of the book while I'm writing it or while I'm editing it. It's pretty much the story it's going to be. Now, throughout the outlining process, the original idea can change a bit. So like with Across the Pond Book 4, I did have a whole rough outline, roughly like 20 to 50 words per chapter outlined for the entire book. I'm now changing a lot of that, and the main like core of the book is actually changing quite a bit. So in the outlining process, everything is fair game, and that's why I outline the way that I do, because it lets me see the whole story, all the major plot points, all the major beats, all the character arcs and plot arc, and I can decide if I'm liking the direction it's going in. And if I don't, I haven't written that much. I haven't written more than like 1,000 or so words, if even. There's still room and time to change it. But once because of the way I outline, and I do what I call super outlining, where my outline is like a quarter to a fifth of what the final word count is. So my outlines are usually around 20,000 words. Once I get that into it, there will be scenes that pop up that maybe weren't part of the outline, but the overall story arc and the overall story idea stays the same. So number 6, hide or share. Do you share your book ideas with friends, or do you keep them a secret? It's not so much that I keep it a secret, but I do keep it fairly quiet, except for with a few really close friends. So with the exception of my few friends that I'm willing to talk about it, I don't talk about it as much. But it does help to talk about it with the people that I am willing to share my ideas with, because they can often help me workshop an idea before I even get far with outlining. I don't intentionally keep things secret, but I do keep things quiet from certain people and in certain places. Like I wouldn't share my ideas here in a YouTube vlog, because while I trust the vast majority of you, I also don't know who else is watching that I may not trust as much. And also I just don't want to commit to something until I know that is what I'm doing. So yeah, I guess I do hide a lot and keep a lot, I don't want to say secret, but just private. So definitely do that. Really curious to know for the rest of you, do you hide or share your ideas from friends or family? So yeah, that takes us up through question 6. I'm now going to do at least another 4 chapters, and then we can do some more questions. Okay, it is now 6 o'clock. I made it up to chapter 17. It's not bad. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish. So I've got 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and the epilogue. But let's do some more tag questions. 7, dream. Have any of your book ideas originated from a dream/nightmare? None of my published ideas have, but I do have 2 book ideas. Amazingly, both of them are fantasy novels. Yeah, I don't get romance novel ideas from my dreams, but I have gotten some other book ideas from dreams of mine. Number 8, doppelganger. Have you ever had an idea for a story but then seen a similar premise in a book/TV show/movie? Yes. And Elizabeth Gilbert talks about this in her book Big Magic, the idea of mutual discovery. She didn't come up with the idea, but she talks about the idea of mutual discovery, and I have definitely experienced that. So the fantasy novel, or the fantasy series of novels that I have started writing, but I just have a first draft of the first book, and that's as far as I got. It was completely original when I started writing it. I hadn't seen the idea anywhere else. I wasn't aware of anything similar. A few years later, after I finished my first draft, I read a book series that, when you distill it down to its most basic elements, it is kind of similar. I think there's enough details that are different, so I do want to one day move forward and actually develop mine further and publish my series, because I do think it's different enough. It's one thing for readers to feel like, if you like this one series, you'll like my book. It's another for them to read my book and think it's a ripoff of that series. I know if I ever publish this, I'm gonna have to be very careful to make sure that it is distinctly different and original on its own, and I won't publish it until I feel like I can make it its own thing that might appeal to a similar audience but wouldn't feel like I'd ripped off that idea. But yeah, mutual discovery is a thing, and I have experienced it. But I think when you're dealing with certain supernatural stories or certain romance stories, like when you're dealing with these genres, there's only so different you can make them. There is no such thing as an original idea. I've said this a million times. Anytime this conversation comes up, there really hasn't been an original idea since the ancient Greeks. And honestly, they probably even ripped it off from someone else. You know, but it's like all the main, as someone who studied theater and theater history, all the main kind of theatrical plots and literature plots and devices, like the main plots and tropes that we know of go back to ancient Greece. And then the Romans ripped off the Greeks, and then the Elizabethans ripped off the Romans and the Greeks. Like Shakespeare, there is nothing original about Shakespeare. Shakespeare got all of his ideas from other people and places and stories, but it's his original take on, well, sometimes it's his original take, other times it's like very clearly inspired by other stuff. And then even the Greeks and the Romans, when they were coming up with the few original ideas that they had, when you look at other cultures in the East, you look at indigenous tribes in the Americas, North America, South America, there are certain stories that just seem inherent to the human condition, and every culture has their version of them that really doesn't seem to have been influenced by anyone else. Like almost every culture has its version of the Cinderella story, and it's not like anyone specifically took that idea from someone else. So I know that mutual discovery is a thing, and I think that's the struggle as an author, is to take what are very similar ideas. Because if you look at a lot of other supernatural stories, you can find the either two supernatural beings of the same kind, like two witches or two vampires, or a witch and a vampire, or a witch and a werewolf, or a vampire and a werewolf. You can find those combinations with some sort of magical artifact or some other thing. Like that's not unique. Like Harry Potter is another example. Magical student gets sent to magical school for wizards. Everyone thinks that's Harry Potter, but it's also The Worst Witch, which came out well before Harry Potter. So there is no original idea, but as an author, you do try to find your own original spin on an idea. So I've definitely experienced this. And that is one of the challenges as a writer. Number 9, big screen inspiration. Have any of your favorite movies/TV shows sparked ideas for scenes in your book? I mean, sure, as a romance novelist, like not specifically, but as a romance, like specific ideas or specific scenes, no. But as a romance writer, I definitely lean on, or lean into, I guess would be the better way of phrasing it, I lean into 90s and early 2000 rom-coms. And so I love Pretty Woman, Notting Hill, basically anything with Julia Roberts in it, to be honest. Love Actually, The Holiday. So I'm definitely influenced by just like classic rom-coms in general, but usually when I try to like take it a step or two removed from the original scene, just to make it a little bit different. Again, to put my own spin on something. We've got one more. So question number 10, nostalgia. What is the oldest/first story idea you remember coming up with / writing down? Would probably be the fantasy novel, the supernatural fantasy novel. That was the first novel I ever wrote. It's still unpublished. So A Brave Start is the first book that I've published, but it's the second novel that I've written. And when I decided to self-publish, I had the manuscript for the fantasy series, for book 1 of the fantasy series, and the manuscript for A Brave Start. And I knew that with A Brave Start, it'd be easier to edit. And if I decided after one book that self-publishing wasn't for me, it could have ended with book 1. I could have just not
continued that series. So it felt like the safer one to start with. And then I just got sucked into romance. So yeah, I'm not someone who grew up always writing down stories. I was always imagining stories in my head, but I didn't write them down. So yeah, that fantasy novel was the first one that I actually wrote down the idea for and then wrote the first draft of. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it. I will finish doing the changes. I'm just getting too tired. I know if I keep looking at this, it's gonna take me too long. So come back to the weekend vlog, because I think I will vlog this weekend and I will try to get this finished. And yeah, it's getting there. That's what matters. Progress. I've made progress. That's all I can ask for. So yeah, I'm gonna go enjoy the rest of my evening. Thank you for keeping me company while I've been working on this. I have made more progress today than I made yesterday, so that's great, and I'm really happy with that. And I had fun answering these questions, so I hope you enjoyed listening to this. It's fun talking about story ideas. I really enjoyed watching Emma's video and Abriana's video. Again, I will have both of their channels linked below, as well as the questions linked below. If you are an author or a writer with a YouTube channel, I tag you, so tag, you're it. It's your turn. You need to do this. And if you are a writer or an author without a channel, then I still tag you to answer at least 2 of these questions in the comments down below. If you are not a author or a writer, chances are you are at least a reader. I'm assuming most of you are readers. I know we talk about books a lot. So if you are a reader, I'd like to know, I think the dream question is interesting. Have you ever had any dreams that you think would make good books or stories? And also, what are your thoughts on the doppelganger question and multiple stories that seem to have similar premises? Do you seek out books that kind of have a similar plot because you just like that plot? I also think the big screen inspiration question would be interesting to read, to hear some answers from readers. What do you think when books reference popular films or TV shows in their books? So I think some of these questions you can answer even if you're not currently an author or a writer. So let's just talk story ideas in general in the comments. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you're not subscribed, all of that great stuff. I'd really appreciate it. Say hi in the comments, let me know how you're doing, answer our questions, let's chat story ideas down there. And I will see you all very soon in the next vlog. Thank you very much for watching this one. Bye!